Hello and welcome to episode 2 of series 3 of the Engaging Internal Comms podcast. This is the show for employee engagers and internal communicators who like to keep up to date with all that is new in our profession. My name's Craig Smith from The Big Picture People. Well, I hope you've had a chance to listen to the first full episode of Series 3 of the podcast, which went out a couple of weeks ago, our interview with Nicholas Wardle, which was a really great conversation all around employee experience and measuring employee experience. You can catch up with that either on the website, which is engagingic.com, or you can listen to it on the podcast platform that you are listening to this on now. What have we got coming up in the next episode? So in 2 weeks' time, on the 15th of February, I have an interview with John Fury. Now, John is from an organization called Mindtime, and John is going to be explaining all about the importance of language when we are communicating change. And this particularly relates to our pulse check model, which if you've listened to the first episode and if you listen to the trailer, you will know that all of the episodes in this series are linked loosely to a certain extent to our pulse check model, which is a framework that we use with our clients. Now, I'll explain a little bit more about how you can access the pulse check, which is a free tool, in a moment. But when we're looking at John Fury's interview in a couple of weeks, the importance of language in change communications, that very much links to one of the areas of our change survey, which is why are we changing and what is the sense of urgency for change. And John's going to be talking all about the importance of language and how that links to this concept of building a sense of urgency for change within our organizations, which is extremely important if we're getting people to change the way that they do things. So, as I said, it's linked to our Pulse Check, which is a free tool which we have available for you at the following URL. So it's pulse.thebigpicturepeople.co.uk. So that's pulse.thebigpicturepeople.co.uk. And we'll put a link to that into the show notes. That is a free diagnostic which you can access via the link that I've just given you, and you can complete a 24-question diagnostic. It's very quick, very simple. It takes about 10-15 minutes to complete it. And at the end of that, you'll get a really detailed PDF report that relates to a whole series of questions, 6 key questions broken down into a number of areas, into 24 questions in detail, and they will give you an idea of lots of different aspects of your business in terms of the urgency and why you're changing, how clear it is for employees as to what it is you're aiming for, and how clear it is as to how you will deliver that strategy as well. That is filled in from your perspective on behalf of your colleagues and what you know about colleagues within the business, and that will give you a diagnostic scorecard showing you the areas that you might need to focus on. So once again, that's pulse.thebigpicturepeople.co.uk, and you can access that. And all of the episodes, as I say, in this series are linked to different areas of the Pulse Check. So that's what we've got coming up in a couple of weeks' time on the show. The only other thing I just want to make you aware of is we are running another of our free webinars next month on the 3rd of March 2022, if you're listening to this in real time. So that's 3rd of March 2022 at 3 p.m. UK time, so 1500 UK time. And this is a specific webinar that we're running for anybody who has an involvement in communicating health and safety issues, or communicating and training people within your organization, or guiding people in terms of what your rules and procedures and culture is within your organization when it comes to health and safety. So that may not be you directly, but you may have colleagues who are involved in health and safety. You may be supporting them with comms efforts at the moment. So this is a webinar that you or your colleagues will find really useful. As I say, 3rd of March 2022, 3 o'clock. You can find that via our website, which is thebigpicturepeople.co.uk. If you go to our events tab, you will see that the next event that is scheduled is that very event, 3rd of March, and you can book directly there, or you can find out some more information about the event. So that's all I wanted to cover today. say before we move into the next interview or today's interview. And just before I do that, actually, I just wanted to say one other thing. If you do have any feedback or if you do have any comments or questions that you'd like to put to us, if you go across to engagingic.com, so that's engagingic.com, there is a sign-up form there or a feedback form where you can leave some details. You don't need to give us any details. You don't need to give us your name. You can be anonymous, but if you want to leave us some feedback, any suggestions, anything you'd like us to cover in future episodes, we'd be delighted to do so. Anyway, as I said, now I will go over to today's interview. One of the fundamental questions we need to be able to answer for our employees is, what are we aiming for as an organisation? What is our long-term vision, and does that make sense to our employees? But also, what is our purpose, and how does that connect to the work that our people do? One of the key areas that we look at is an emotional connection with the purpose as a real key driver of employee engagement. And why is it important? Well, it should be a story that your leaders are able to articulate to their teams. It needs to be something that explains why that you believe your organization makes the world a better place for your customers or for your end users. And it should be something that explains to how your employees contribute towards that and how their efforts make a difference each and every day. It's the kind of answer to the question, why do we get out of bed every morning? It shouldn't be confused with specific goals or business strategies. So while you might go about achieving a particular goal or complete a strategy, you can never fulfill a purpose. A purpose is something that is always a true north. It's never something that you actually achieve or get to. It's something that just drives your organization forward. And it's relatively easy for a company to develop a rhetoric around a feel-good purpose that articulates an aspirational reason. But actually living and breathing and effectively demonstrating that purpose is a much more difficult task, but one that will fundamentally pay off in the long term. So in today's interview, we're going to be looking at an organization that has found a way to really connect its employees to its purpose, to a sense of its deliverables within the community, deliverables within its position, within its market, but also how it can fuel its potential future employees and people coming into its sector. So when I want you to listen to and think about as you listen to today's interview is, if you're looking to connect your employees to the purpose, how can you actually get them out of the organization to either meet your customers or to meet your stakeholders or to meet the people whose lives you influence or change? But also, what are they doing in order to build a sustainable legacy within your sector? What are they doing? How can you help your employees to develop a sense of the developing, the future employees for your organization, not necessarily for your organization, but for the sector that you operate within. And I think that's what today's interviewee explains really well about the program that they've developed within their organization. And I hope that you will take some really meaningful lessons away from it. And we'd love to get your feedback on what you think about today's episode, but also this series in general, about this whole idea of answering these key questions that your employees have when it comes to helping them to understand your overall change narrative. So let's listen to this episode's interview now. Melissa Hackmeyer is Global Head of Employee and Community Engagement, Sustainability and Social Business Innovation at the life science business of Merck, which operates as MilliporeSigma in the US and Canada. Melissa is a corporate responsibility professional with a proven ability to effectively develop relationships and communicate with key constituents. Melissa also serves on the advisory council of Net Impact Boston. Hello, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I said that at the beginning of the introduction. You're involved in the advisory council of Net Impact Boston. So I guess that gives a clue as to whereabouts you are. Just for our listeners, whereabouts in the world are you, please?
Yes, I am in Boston, Massachusetts, in the U.S., and work out of Burlington, which is about 30 minutes north of Boston.
Fantastic, beautiful part of the world, and yeah, wonderful. I bet it's a bit chilly there at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, we had our first snow last night, so we have a dusting on the ground right now.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. So, if you could just expand a little bit on my introduction there. So what is it you do in your business, and just tell us a little bit more about the kind of work that you're involved in. Then we'll go into talk about the key topic for today, which is all about this fantastic your work you're doing around your company purpose. But just a little heads up on what it is you're actually doing in your business at the moment.
Yeah, so we are a life science company. And as you mentioned, I lead our employee and community engagement efforts globally as part of our sustainability and social business innovation work. And so that really falls into, I would say, three areas. One being our philanthropic investments with our nonprofit partners globally.
Hmm.
Two is around our Spark Employee Global Volunteer Program. And then three is really our science education programming, which feeds into our Spark program.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So, just before we dive into the actual specifics of the program, so we're talking here about how this all kind of leads to a sense of purpose for your employees, and how you're kind of trying to build that purpose across the organization, that consistency. Just for the listeners, what the company purpose overall? How would you define what the Millipore Sigma purpose of the organization at a higher level is?
Yeah, so our company's purpose is together we impact life and health with science.
Yeah.
So our Spark and science education programs are focused on sparking curiosity in the next generation of scientists. And so when we think about helping to create solutions for people across the world and a sustainable future for generations to come, the next generation of scientists are obviously a really integral part of that.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Okay, so yeah, a real sense of using that scientific knowledge and bringing more people into that. So you've talked a couple of times now. So there are three initiatives that I believe you have. So you have Spark, Curiosity Labs, and Curiosity Cube. Could you just sort of tell us what the difference is and how those all things all fit together?
Yeah, sure. And I'll give you some background for context as well. So in 2016, we launched Spark, which is our global volunteer program, and it really was and is designed to unite our employees around the world in our shared commitment to giving back to the communities in which we live and work. And so through Spark, we focus on harnessing our employees' talents and expertise, primarily through skills based opportunities that focus on science education.
Mm,
And so our programs are focused on increasing access to science, specifically in students that are 8 to 13 years old.
mm,
And the reason why we focus on that age range is because research shows that if you're not engaging students at that age in science and you don't provide access for them to learn and engage with science,
mm.
then it's really unlikely that they're going to go on to pursue a career in science, technology, engineering, or math field.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's very similar in the UK. I think there's that sort of sweet spot, isn't there, where you know, if you can engage them and get them sort of intrigued about science and things scientific, it's a real formative period where you can then, they get them hooked for the rest of their life, as it were. So.
Exactly.
and
Yes.
why spark? So where does is it literally just a sort of metaphor for the spark and creating that
Yeah,
igniting that
really
spark? Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sparking
Mm,
sparking that curiosity.
yeah.
And when I like to say for me, it's so exciting when you're in a classroom
Mm,
or in the cube, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And no matter where in the world you are, what language the students are speaking or what their culture is, when they, get and dig into the hands-on experiment or they put on their lab coat and safety glasses and gloves, you can really see them and transforming into a young scientist.
mm.
And you can see the spark in their eye when they figure out, the hands-on portion of the lesson.
Yeah.
And that's so exciting and motivating for me. And our other employee volunteers as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's the Spark program overall. Then the Curiosity Labs and the Curiosity Cube, how do they fit in with the Spark program?
Yeah, so our Curiosity Labs, it's our flagship program, and it's really geared to educate and inspire students around the world through hands-on interactive science lessons led by our trained employees, and really encouraging students to explore, wonder, and ask why. So that's, the curiosity piece coming in again.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we've developed the lessons in partnership with Washington University in St. Louis
Mm,
through their Institute for School Partnership. And we also leverage our various subject matter experts at the company. And the lesson topics all align in one way or another to our business. So, for example, we have a lesson around DNA, one on chemiluminescence, one on water filtration, and so forth.
mm, mm.
And so then we work with teachers at schools to choose the lessons, making sure that the lesson that they choose complements their current curriculum. And during those lessons, our team is guiding the students and teaching them through applying scientific principles to real world concepts and challenges.
Mm.
And we supply all the necessary materials and equipment at no cost to the schools. So we have kits for each of the lessons that are housed at our sites. And when employees are going to an event, they bring the kit with all of the materials needed into the classroom. They, teach a lesson and then pack up the materials, bring it back to our site so they can be reused for future lessons.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So sorry, that's the Curiosity Labs.
that's
Yeah.
Curiosity Labs. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then the Curiosity Cube. So what's the Curiosity Cube all about?
Yeah, so the Curiosity Cube complements our Curiosity Labs program.
Mm,
It was launched in 2017 in the US, and
mhm,
it's a retrofitted shipping container turned mobile science lab
mm.
that travels across the US, stopping at schools and public events such as science festivals near where we have sites.
Yeah.
So inside the cube, it features hands on experiments tied to a different theme each year. So, as an example, in 2019, the cube focused on the periodic table of elements. And
Mm,
so, inside we have three stations, and each station focused on a part of that. So, we had an elements in nature station, an elements in the body station, and an elements in technology station.
wow.
And like the Curiosity Labs, it's staffed by our employee volunteers, and we visit primarily underserved schools. And so, really trying to reach students who wouldn't have otherwise have access to hands-on learning.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. I want to find out where the Curiosity Cube is and go in myself. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah, we would love that. And, we've been running in the US for a few years now, and we are planning to expand the program and are excited about the prospect of that and bringing it to other regions in the
Mm.
world.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll talk later on about. Obviously, it's been probably been a challenging couple of years for all of these initiatives, but I mean, you clearly started these for you've explained why that is. It's this is a connection with your purpose. I mean, we'll talk a little bit maybe about it later on, but how easy was it for the company to put its weight behind this, because there's clearly a lot of commitment and thought gone into this. I mean, how difficult or easy was it to make that connection between the overall purpose and what you're trying to do as a business, and this kind of bringing on this next generation of scientists, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural connection, right?
Mm,
So in terms of, the skills-based volunteer programs, naturally aligns to what we do as a business, as a
yeah.
science company. And so we've been very fortunate to have the full buy-in and support of our senior leadership team from the start, from the, concept to the planning and implementation and execution.
Fantastic. So let's move maybe now on to more about the employees who are involved in this, because this is obviously, this is the, I guess this is the connection between the engagement angle and how you're using this to engage your employees. So the first part is obviously outreach and bringing on that next generation of scientists, but there's also here a fantastic opportunity to connect your own employees to that sense of purpose as well. So how do you get people involved in the program? What's the recruitment mechanism? Is it purely voluntary, or are you looking to do you kind of encourage people, or do you see it as part of a development program within the business as well?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, first and foremost, I'd say none of these programs would be possible without our
Mhm.
employees. They are, the backbone of the programs. And so when we launched Spark, we formed what we call Spark teams at each of our sites. And
Mm,
they are voluntary teams of employees. And to kind of recruit for those teams, we put a call out for participation to our employees. But we
mm,
also worked with site leadership to recommend or nominate employees that they thought would be good to get involved as a professional development opportunity.
mm,
And so, as these teams were forming, we were getting employees to volunteer and raise their hand who were really passionate about giving back to their communities and wanting to do more
mm,
to contribute to that than just participating in a volunteer event. They really wanted to get more involved.
mm. And I mean, yeah, okay, that's yeah. So were there is there a sense of because obviously this is an element of you have people who are probably working in a lot of people I would guess in your business who are not necessarily technical people. How do you get non-technical people involved as well? Because I guess if it's just scientist based work, is there opportunities there for people who don't necessarily work in scientific led roles to get involved in the program?
Yeah, for sure. And, I would say, even with our Curiosity Labs and Curiosity Cube programs, we do encourage those employees without a science background to volunteer. So we
Mm,
have basic training for them and everything in order to make them feel comfortable in that setting. But we know that not everyone wants to give back in that way. Some people might not enjoy volunteering with kids, for
yeah.
example.
Mm,
And so we do definitely offer civic volunteer opportunities for employees as well. And that could be a meal packing event or a beach cleanup, as a couple of examples.
mm,
But I would say we really rely on our Spark teams to organize the events locally. And
mm,
so while my team is there to provide, structure and guidance and support to the Spark teams, we really want to empower them to take ownership of planning the events that will be meaningful for their local employees.
mm,
And a lot of employees not only find it as a good professional development opportunity, allowing them to gain new skills that they might not use in their day-to-day job, but it's also a way for them to meet and connect and network with other people within their site that they don't necessarily work with on a day-to-day basis on their team.
okay. And have you seen I guess it's a difficult question maybe to answer, but have you seen a connection between the people who've been involved in the program and, kind of using that as a critical experience to develop their career and become, maybe more outward looking to the community, to your customers, to your clients who you serve? Have you seen that maybe the people who get involved in the program tend to be the people who who not just because I'm not suggesting you would not allow the people who didn't want to be involved, you discriminate, but is there a case that you do see this as a way of people really developing their careers and their skill set and their ability to communicate, engage, all of those sorts of things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that even, when you think about planning an event, right? It
Mm,
takes certain skills and you are being the main point of contact for the contact at the organization or the school.
mm.
Um, to to plan the event. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are making connections with your local community as well as within the company. Again, connecting with people that you wouldn't necessarily connect with otherwise, and
Yeah.
from that there could be additional opportunities that arise.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're great transferable skills. I mean, I used to work in a business where we used to do school visits, and I know it's nowhere near as sophisticated as what you're doing here. But the questions that young people ask are often much more challenging than adults do. And you really get
Yes.
test your thinking. Why do you do? Why is that? Why does that machine operate like that? And you're thinking that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that. But yeah, and I think if you can explain things to young people in a way that keeps them engaged and answers their curiosity, that's a really great skill to have, as a leader, as a manager, when you're working inside the organization as well.
Yes, kids definitely ask some tough questions, that's for sure.
How have you? So this sounds like a really great, really amazing program. Have you? Is there a kind of a sense that does everybody get involved across the the hierarchy of the organization? You've had senior leaders involved in these programs as well, and or do they demonstrate their buy-in and involvement in other ways?
Yeah, I would say a combination. So, um, our senior leadership team down to middle manager level, we do have people that have participated firsthand in volunteering,
Mm,
whether that's, with our Curiosity Labs or Curiosity Cube or our civic events.
mm,
And in fact, many have requested our support in creating an event specifically for their team as a team building activity. So,
right.
they could be hosting a team meeting, and as part of that agenda, they want to include a community activity. And
Mm,
so that's been really great to see, and see an uptick of that through the years. And then, the communication piece is also very important. In terms of their support of the program. So communicating to their teams about the program really helps to embed these programs into our overall culture of giving back and
mm.
being out in the community.
Yeah, yeah. That's fantastic. I'd not thought about that. What a wonderful sort of in-house team building. Because I used to run a lot of team building events, and often they felt very contrived and a little bit, kind of abstract and not really relevant. But actually, having that opportunity in-house to be able to not just only go and build your team, but actually to do something useful as a part of that, I think is an amazing. I'd never thought of that. That's fantastic. Um, so just moving on then to sort of thinking about how I guess with any program with any campaign like this, there's always, and particularly at the moment, there's always a question around how do we measure it? How do we know that this is
Mhm.
delivering what we intended to? So how have you measured this? Have you looked at this return on investment, which sounds kind of intuitively, I can't see how it wouldn't be a fantastic investment, but how do you answer those sort of questions about ROI?
Yeah, I mean, the measurement piece is, of course, really important and sometimes challenging.
Mm,
From the student side of things, so with our Curiosity Labs and Curiosity Cube programs, we survey students and teachers following an
yeah.
event.
Mm,
And so we really want to gain feedback, not just on their understanding for the students of the learning objectives, but also on their attitude towards science and
mm,
engagement in the program. And then,
mm.
of course, we want the teacher feedback too.
Mm,
Um, and, this allows us to really understand the impact we're having, as well as helps to inform program improvements, because we
yeah.
want to always be iterating and improving as much as we can. And then on the employee side, we do survey our employee volunteers as well to gain feedback, and that's important because we want to
Mm,
understand, are you interested in volunteering again after your experience?
mm,
And, what did it mean to you and stuff like that? And, we obviously have the anecdotal feedback as well, from employees to say, I'm so proud to work for a company that supports these kind of initiatives.
mm,
I didn't mention this earlier, but as a company, we offer 16 hours of paid time off to all of our employees for volunteering each
mm,
year.
mm, mm,
And, so that really helps in terms of kind of the support and engagement that we get from employees as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. And in terms of, have you been able to? When did you start the program? Sorry, I should have asked that at the beginning. When did the
Yeah,
program
so
start?
the
Yeah.
Spark program and Curiosity Lab started in 2016.
Okay, okay, and I guess it may be too early to say, have you seen people who have started to apply for jobs within the business who were initially, kind of their curiosity was sparked through Spark? Have you seen anyone? I guess that's a difficult one to measure, but will you hope to see people knocking on your door who were originally engaged by Spark at some point in the future? I guess.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that would be amazing. That would be great.
Yeah.
It's been about, let's see, 6 years or so
Mm,
since, or
mm,
5 or 6 years since we started the program. So,
mm.
targeting the middle school or sixth to eighth grade, 8 to 13-year-olds. A little bit too soon for that, but yes, we
Yeah.
definitely hope to see that down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah, alumni of the Spark program starting to come through the process. Yeah. So how have you? I mean, I guess I said the last couple of years have been challenging. We're recording this at the back end of 2021. So have you done virtual Spark? How have you kept things going through and during the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, the pandemic has been really challenging for a number of reasons. But for our programs, we haven't been able to go into classrooms or take the cube out on tour.
Mm,
So that's been really difficult. But we were able to quickly pivot. And in early 2020, we developed our Curiosity Labs at Home program. And
mm,
so it's a virtual spinoff of our Curiosity Labs program. It includes 20 easy and educational science experiments that can be completed at home with materials typically found around the house. And each lesson comes with a short video, recipe card, and interactive lab report worksheet to help guide the lesson. Or the experiment. And, each experiment is pretty short, about 10 to 15 minutes long or so. And
mm,
so we've seen great engagement and stuff from parents and teachers in that virtual environment. And then we have also built out a virtual capability at one of our sites in St. Louis, Missouri.
mm.
And so we've started testing out virtual lessons in that way too, where we can, have our scientists at the lab and broadcast out to various classrooms. And
Mm,
so
mm.
we're hoping to see that continue into 2022.
Fantastic. And we'll put I was mentioning this in the end, we'll put a link to all of these different initiatives. So the Curiosity Labs at Home, is that something that anyone can access? Do you
Yep.
have to, yeah, okay.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
on our website. Anyone can access that and,
Yeah.
download um, the video, the instructions, the recipe card for the experiments, and
Yeah.
just gather the materials that they have at their house and,
Yeah.
have some fun.
Yeah, I might try some of those later on, so it could be fun. Yeah. So, just a final couple of questions, Melissa. I didn't, maybe you hadn't put this in the plans. Hopefully it's not too curveball for you. But if someone's thinking of setting up a volunteer program within their organization, and maybe you're clearly an organization that has fantastic leadership and resources to be able to support something else, but regardless of scale or size or budget, what are some of the things that you'd recommend in terms of, what are some of the foundations that you need to have in place in order to create a really sort of compelling volunteer program like this, where to help people really kind of connect with their communities and the world and the people who you support as an organization?
Yeah, so I mean, thinking about just some lessons learned over the years, I think definitely having senior leadership support and participation is critical
Mm,
to driving engagement throughout the company and for
mm,
employees. Employees definitely want to give back. They
mm,
want to be out in the community and really enjoy giving back, through the workplace. But it's really important to provide them with the guidance and structure and frame to do so, and the
mm.
tools and resources. And
Yeah.
so, um, I think what we've found is that by providing that structure and the resources to employees, then they're more inclined to, take the initiative and plan something versus, just not knowing where to start or how to
Mhm.
begin.
Yeah.
Um, for us being a global company, understanding various cultural viewpoints, particularly with respect to volunteering, is really important because, in different regions of the world, not everyone views volunteering in the same way. And so
Mm,
just being really mindful of that piece.
mm,
And then, we talked about this, but the measurement piece is so important
mm,
to really measure the impact in order for program growth, but then also for improvement.
mm,
Because
mm.
if you're not measuring and gaining feedback, then how are you going to grow and scale and really make the program the best that it can be?
Mm, fantastic. Yeah. And they're three really, really, I think, really useful tips. And I think your point about having some structure and resources is really important, because wherever I've been involved or seen these programs, it's always been much more difficult when it's just been like, yeah, we're going to go and paint a school, or we're going to go and, tidy up a beach or something. Well, it's been part of it was fun and actually trying to work out what we needed to be able to do that, but it was quite exhausting, and it meant we wasted a lot of time that we could have actually been doing the thing rather than planning and going to the store to buy the paint and find some brushes. Having the resources, I think, is a really useful part of that. And I think the beauty of your program is it's clearly very structured and has a clear, it's consistent. You're doing the same thing. And I think sometimes some of the volunteer programs I've seen that struggle is because it's too random. There's too many different things they're trying to do. It's a well intended, but just not really particularly well thought out. So I think clearly with yours, that's not the case. Yours is extremely well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely really helps to be focused, and then also to tie it to the business. So, even with our philanthropic investments, we focus on areas that tie back to our business. So, working with nonprofit partners who focus on science education and global access to science. And so being really targeted in what we're doing and what we're supporting.
Fantastic. Anything else you'd like to say? Anything that we've missed or not covered that you want to shout out about the program, or any kind of other key learnings or lessons that you've had in your involvement with it?
I think the only other thing that I want to highlight is our focus on inclusion and equity for our programs, and really focusing on underrepresented populations in science, including people of color and women. And so we look to model this behavior, leveraging our diverse leaders and volunteers who are working directly with students in their own communities. And so when we are out in the communities, we really want to show students and inspire them by showing them that scientists all over the world who look like them are working to create a better tomorrow. And so, that piece is really integral and important to us as we are, running our programs and then thinking about new programs that will develop in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know in the UK, there's a big thing around it's called STEM in the UK: science, technology, engineering, and math, around particularly on gender involvement, because it's very, very traditionally a very sort of male orientated area that tends to be dominate. And then there's definitely a quite rightly a move. So absolutely. And I guess diversity in all forms is really important, because again, you're right, it needs to be you need to leverage that diversity you've got within the organization. So that's a really good point as well. Yeah, excellent. We're going to put some resources into the show notes associated with the this podcast on our website on engagingic.com. So I've just got a list here. So I was going to put your and just check that these are all okay. Corporate social responsibility webpage. We've got your employee community engagement webpage, and also then the links to the Cube, the labs, and also your own LinkedIn profile, if that's okay. We're going to put a link into all of those.
Sure. And then I just want to also make sure that you have the link to our Curiosity Labs at Home webpage as well.
Yes, I have. Yes, okay. Yes,
perfect.
I have. Yeah. Curiosity, and that's on the it's on the Curiosity Labs. And yes, I've got that. I'll double check with you and with Taylor that we've got the right links there before we pop those up, and get you to check them anyway. We'll make sure that all the links are good as well. Well, look, that's been absolutely fantastic, Melissa. Really, really nice to speak to you. An amazing program, and I think really inspirational. And as I said, I can't wait for the when the Curiosity Cube hits the UK. I'll be looking for a list of sites it's going to be visiting, so I'm going to have a play.
Sounds great. I will definitely let you know when we'll be there.
Yeah. Well, all the best for 2022, Melissa, and thank you very, very much for this. And we'll hopefully speak to you again soon, and keep in touch.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Melissa. So thank you for listening to Engaging Internal Comms. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the show and any questions, ideas, or feedback that you'd have. Anything you'd like us to cover on future episodes too, please. So you can email us at info@thebigpicturepeople.co.uk. or you can get in touch with us via the contact form at engagingic.com. You can also sign up to our mailing list there, and we'll send you relevant news about the show and anything that we think you might be interested in when it comes to internal communications and employee engagement. If you like the show and you haven't already done so, please subscribe to it directly via your podcast service. And you can also subscribe via the links on our podcast page, which again is engagingic.com. If you like the show, we'd be really grateful if you could leave us a review, and also if you could leave some verbal feedback there as well, not just stars. That's always nice to know that we've been appreciated, and particularly how we've helped you. If you know anyone else who might like the show or might benefit from it, please tell them, please share it with them. Please share the link to our website, engagingic.com. And that will be great, because we want to grow our community. We want to get as many people involved in the show as possible. And the bigger, the better. Okay, thank you.